Welcome to Café of Delights, conversations that enlighten and inspire with me, your host, Gale West. We are at the precipice of one of the most exciting evolutions in human history, from science to spirituality, culture, arts, cutting-edge psychotherapies, new economies, and more. We will explore how to create a world where all can thrive. In a series of riveting interviews, you'll have the opportunity to hear from those that are actively working at the edges of local, regional, and global transformation. Join me, your host and author of the book Money Come Dance With Me, Gale West, to be inspired, delighted, and filled with hope for a new reality. Café of Delights starts now. Good morning or afternoon or wherever you are. I'm coming live to you from Los Gatos, California. And I have my amazing guest with me, Brigitte Cutshall. I'm so excited to have her today. And she is an unabashed health advocate after dealing with cancer several times and a rare primary brain tumor. Her goal is to empower others not to just survive, but to thrive, and encourage to focus on what's important to find your inner strength. She is also the founder of Gemini Media, a creative enforcer, and the host of Real Things Living podcast. She's authored several books, and Bridget enjoys staying active with her family, dogs, and of course, running. Thank you, and I'm so happy to have you, Bridget.
Thank you, Gail. I'm glad we could finally connect.
Make it happen.
Yeah, make it happen. Things happen in life, and that's what.
Yeah, right. So where are you?
I live in the Metro Atlanta area. I'm actually in Ackworth.
Metro Atlanta. Where?
Ackworth, Georgia, which is northwest of Atlanta. I'm really part of the suburbs of Atlanta.
Oh, cool. So we start every interview with two questions, which I shared with you, so you got a chance to think about it. What brings you hope? And since it's the Café of Delights, what delights your soul at this time?
Well, it's my family, my sons. I mean, they're adults now, but they bring me hope. It being a parent, I think if those who are parents, you'll understand that, and you just want to be there to help them. And I've always enjoyed activities with them. And I also got them into reading when they were really young. I think that's important, is I love to read and be active.
So your story is amazing. I was looking into it yesterday as we were talking, and tell us a little bit about how you found out that you had cancer, and then the whole kind of origin story of where you are today, because I'm sure there's been an amazing story that you have, and that how you've really brought that from just surviving to thriving. Yeah.
Well, it all started when my 40s, when all this I call it crazy stuff happened. My gynecologist, she recommended I get mammogram. I almost said MRI. Get a baseline right before I turned 40, because she had experienced breast cancer. Okay, so she just recommended that. And then when I was 41 is when they wanted me to have another one. The reason they do that is because I had, whatever, it's not TMI, I had dense breasts. Okay, and you're more likely to get cancer, supposedly, and it doesn't run in my family. So when I got that second mammogram, it showed something irregular in there, and it turned out to be DCIS, the ductal karma. I can't even say it. Your milk ducts. There's a growth there. There's cancer there. So I, did the normal treatment, did the little surgery to remove it. And then they were testing me, my hormones were still going crazy, right? Meaning what caused that kind of cancer is high levels of prolactin, which creates breast milk, and growth hormones. And we couldn't get that normalized. So 3 years later, that's when my breast cancer doctor recommended I have an MRI. That's why I keep saying that. The MRI of my brain to check out my pituitary, which controls your hormones, those hormones. And then there's a tiny tumor on there, but then they found a bigger tumor in the back of my head, which we didn't know I had, which is mine is called a vestibular schwannoma. And it grew slowly, but it was medium sized, meaning it was 2.5 centimeters. So we had to do something.
That's not small.
No, that's what I'm saying.
No, that's not small.
I meant the pituitary one is tiny. The one I had 2 brain tumors. Okay.
Wow.
One of my pituitary was like 4 millimeters. The one in the back was 2.5 centimeters. I'm like, but I didn't know I had this because it grew slowly. And I had to do something based on my age. I was 44 at that time. And I'd already gone at 41. You know, my sons were really young. They were 8 and 10 or 11 at the time, the 2 boys. And so the rare brain tumor, because they didn't know what to do about this. And I saw 5 specialists in the Atlanta area. They didn't know because it's rare. So I ended up finding a doctor in Chicago, the Northwestern University Hospital, who specialized in this kind of stuff. So, because it also put a dent on my brainstem. My husband said it was very sexy. You have to find humor, right? So I went up there and I learned you can't go to these doctor's appointments by yourself, especially when you hear the word brain tumor. And right, I went to one doctor's appointment by myself, and I didn't even know what he said to me because all I heard was, brain surgery. But the doctor,
you shut down. It's like
I was like, I can't.
totally.
Right, I shut down, and so I had one of my best friend from high school go with me to Chicago to this appointment because I needed someone there to listen because my sons my husband stayed home. Someone had to take care of the boys, right? So so she offered to come with me, and he said I was going to be okay. And he recommended this thing called targeted radiation. And what he had was called the gamma knife, but there's a new not surgery. It's called stereotactic. It's cyber knife is what I had done. There's gamma knife, and so it's very confusing. And at the time, they have that technology here in a new hospital in Atlanta. And I didn't want to have that done to my brain in Chicago if I lived in Atlanta, right? What if something was wrong? So I found a hospital in Atlanta that can help. And it was, oh my gosh, I don't know how many days it was. It took about a month. I had to go every day for a month for about an hour. And well, maybe I'm confusing the other radiation, but it killed it really slowly, very targeted. And it shrunk it, but then it didn't mess with my hormones were still messed up from the pituitary, right? So we had to go deal with that. So,
oh my God,
the breast cancer came back when I was almost 49 because my hormones were wacky. And so they didn't know how to treat that. So it turns out, it was just a mess. So my doctors called me the zebra among horses. I had a good attitude that we're going to find a way to do this. I went and got certified and learned about nutrition. I want to make sure I was eating the right stuff, find out things that, I try to take an integrative approach to this. And I think that's what really helped. So the brain tumor is dead now, finally. But then before it was completely dead, the breast cancer came back because we had to get more hormones in check. And it came back I thought it was in my lymph node, but I didn't know there was a such thing as a breast tail. It's in your, right. I was like, what? Because I found this lump in my armpit, but it was really, thank God, it was still part of the breast tissue. So they took that out and they tested everything, and that wasn't considered very aggressive. So like, okay, great. So I did lots of studies and other tests, oncotype testing, and I decided to go with chemo, which I never thought I would do. But that helped because it was aggressive and it was near my armpit. Even though my lymph nodes were clear, that doesn't mean it wouldn't show up anywhere else. Mm-hmm. So thank God the brain tumor was, dormant. But then after that surgery, I decided to have a double mastectomy on my 49th birthday. I know that sounds strange, but I didn't want to deal with this crap ever again. And because that still, we couldn't get my hormones normalized. And it was hard, but I didn't want to deal with it again. And that worked out fine. And then the chemo helped. And then the only thing that really helped my everything getting balanced was getting the Tdap booster shot. That Tdap booster shot is tetanus, if people don't know what that means. So you're repurposing that for brain tumors. And that killed my brain tumor completely. And
tetanus shot?
Yes.
Repurposing for, whoa.
Repurposing for brain tumors. I was only talking to doctors who were open to new
alternatives. Yeah.
Alternatives. And I was eating right and exercising. Well, I had a hard time exercising during chemo, but I had to wait. But anyway, that's what killed it. And it killed the tiny pituitary on my, they call it a microadenoma on my pituitary, and they're both dead. And my hormone levels are perfect and below, after that. So, and I really think it has to do with listening to my body and having some hope. I have the word hope in my family room with it lights up. I needed to have that to remind myself and be there for my kids. But we have to be open to their, to finding different alternatives. I think we have to be open to that. And one doctor, by the way, I didn't mention, he wanted to just give me some pain meds. I'm like, no, I knew I had to find out what was causing this weird stuff. So we figured it out, and I found some fantastic doctors who supported me and who were open to questions from the patients.
Yeah. So we have about 3 minutes before we take a little break. Wow, what a journey that you've been on. It's so this went on for about 10 years, 9 years.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. So when we come back, I'd like to go a little bit more into how you were able to maintain hope. And I'm sure that when, these things happen, we fade in and out of hope. And it's a struggle. And when it goes on for a long time, which it did for you, there's a way in which, we can dip into why me, that why me thing. We can dip into why did this happen to me? What can I do? And then kind of despair.
Correct.
Yeah. So just really briefly, what was the one thing, just, because we got about 2 minutes left before we take a break. And so what was the one thing that you could say that helped you?
That helped me the most, I think it was listening to my body. It really, truly was. My body was saying, do not take pain meds. You got to keep asking questions. Mm-hmm. And then I would see in the other side of, in the same room, my family. Like I had to find a way to be there for them. Mm-hmm. And hearing that you have a brain tumor was much scarier than being told you have breast cancer, right? That scared me. And I knew, because they didn't know what to do, but I knew I was going to find a way, because I am persistent. I am stubborn. I mean, I think that's part of my, I was going to find a solution, and I did. And you have to keep trying. You can't just try one thing. You have to keep trying.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go more into how you listen to your body, because I know I had a couple strokes in 2020, and I'm still dealing with that. And listening to your body is a real key, because it is. I really believe that our body has a consciousness. It is alive, and it will talk to us if we listen.
If you listen, not ignore it.
Yeah, you got to listen. But most people are just not listening, or they don't know how to listen. So let's go more into, when we take a break, how to listen, to your body. Okay. So this is Gale West. We're going to take a little break. You are on the Café of Delights, and I have Brigitte Cutshall, right? Cutshall is my guest today, and we'll be back in a moment. Café of Delight, conversations that enlighten and inspire with me, your host, Gale West. Tune into transformationtalkradio.com every second and fourth Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific. We are at the precipice of one of the most exciting evolutions in human history. On Café of Delights, you will hear from those that are actively working at the edges of local, regional, and global transformation. For more information on hope for a new reality, visit Gale West at successwithsoul.com.
Imagine if you were truly flourishing, how would your financial expansion impact the world? Author of Money Come Dance With Me, Gale West is an internationally known speaker, creative catalyst, and business intuitive at Success with Soul. Work with Gale to create a new relationship with money as your friend. Link the soul of your business to the business of your soul with programs like Sacred Money Mastery, Akashic Records of the Soul, and more. To receive a healing money meditation, go to successwithsoul.com today.
And we are back. This is Gale West, and you are listening live from Los Gatos, California. And where are you, Bridget?
I'm in Metro Atlanta, Georgia.
Metro Atlanta, Georgia. And you are listening to the Café of Delights. And this is live. So if you want to call in and have a question or a comment, the number is 800-930-2819. That's 800-930-2819. And we were talking before the break about how to really maintain hope and listen to your body. And I know for myself, that's been really key, is to listen to my body, because we were talking about how our body does have a consciousness and it wants to be alive. It wants to live and wants to be vibrant and flourish. So, Bridget, how did you learn to talk to your body? What was the process you went through? And before you had breast cancer, was that something you did or not?
Yeah, it kind of was. I just naturally, like I'm a runner, for example. I know not to push myself because I didn't want to hurt myself. And I think I've seen people do that. And I think the having babies, being pregnant, I had a couple of weird, lots of pain issues, but it turned out to be okay. But I think we try to think we've got to keep going. You just need to slow down and heal. That's another way too, is to listen. You got to slow down and let your body heal. The immune system needs to kick in. And for me, the weird pains I was having, that's kind of why I was asking those questions. Why am I having this weird, unnecessary pain? And I was a little dizzy sometimes, but I thought maybe it was just sinus. I've always had sinus. They said non-allergenic rhinitis. I don't know if you ever heard of that. And we didn't know, there's brain tumor growing, right? In pushing on my brainstem, which that's kind of scary, but I'm okay. But that's really what it is. It's just little subtle things, just listening and don't push yourself so hard. I know a lot of people who have and end up getting worse or injured. And I'm open to trying different methods. Like I changed my diet, right? I learned that as I've aged, I can't handle dairy anymore. That's just an example. That, ever heard of casein protein? That's something that your body can't digest immediately. And that's why we didn't correlate that right away if you have an allergy. And that's really what it was. I just took it slow. I tried to slow down. And I stay away from caffeine just because I naturally have high metabolism. I think that's the right word. if I drank caffeine, I will go run 10 miles. And I just I knew it wasn't good for me. So I don't do that. And then that's when I started having these weird body aches. That's when I was recommended I see a holistic endocrinologist. All that. I just integrated lots of different things. And I did see a chiropractor too. I see that a very regular basis. So hopefully that helps. And it's just a lot of weird things that happen to our body. Plus we're aging sometimes. You get it.
The way in which our pain is a message.
Yes,
And
pain's a message.
most of us don't realize that pain is a message. It's our body telling us there's something wrong, unless you have a chronic thing and you know what it is. But and resting, after my stroke, I was tired all the time, and it was hard to sleep.
I
Like,
bet. Yeah.
and so, but I didn't, Americans are about push, push, push. That's
Yes.
the thing we have to do. But then my doctor said, your brain is healing. You have to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And just listening that way and it's about creating a relationship with our bodies. Our bodies are amazing beings. And I know for myself, after my stroke, I was touching my body saying, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you. And afterwards I could see people's beings kind of come out of their bodies. And just knowing that is when we love our body really deeply and dearly, our body will talk to us. It'll share with us what we need. And was that your experience also?
Right. I think a lot of it, people who end up getting sick or is what they're eating as well. I'm serious. And my body's always told me, don't eat a bunch of meat, eat vegetables. And I was made fun of, right? And so we all this marketing stuff, you got to have lots of dairy, and that probably didn't help me, right? And so now, after I validated that, after getting tested for because everybody's different, right? Some people can eat lots of meat, and that's really what it was. I was always not into eating meat and cheese, but then I did at some point as an adult because we were told we had to, right? From the dairy industry and stuff like that. And I'm glad I continue eating vegetables. That helped. I feel so much better. And I think maybe it's just the way my DNA is. That's just what it is. And I've always preferred like fish over beef. And there's just so many, there's no one way or right way on how to eat. Right. And that helps you heal too. And I think also your environment has a lot to do with it too, with what you're exposed to. That's what I learned. That's one of the neurosurgeons said to me, this brain tumor is caused by radiation exposure. And I'm like, what? Right. And I grew up around military bases because I'm a military brat, but we don't know. Right. So there's all kinds of different things around us we need to be cognizant of.
So how did that relate to radiation exposure? That's really curious.
The brain tumor, right, is the kind of brain tumor they said I have where it's located is it's very rare and it's caused by radiation exposure. So I don't know how that happened. And that's because it grew very slow, at least probably a millimeter a year, right? But it grew, so my body adapted to it. And then that's ended up pushing, and they believe, pressure on my pituitary, which created the other tiny tumor, which messed up my hormones. We just had to get that we weren't going to get rid of the cancer if we couldn't control this brain tumor. And the surgery was not recommended because I could have been caused paralysis. Like, nice, because of the location. So I had hope. I believed I told myself, you're going to get through this. You're going to find a way to do this and not, do all that brutal stuff. I call it brutal stuff.
So how did you, I'm going to go back to this idea of hope. Did you meditate? Did you just kind of go in and say, we're going to have hope? What were so we're talking about helping our audience have tools and techniques to maintain, because, life is, there's a lot of bumps in life. And so it may not be cancer. It may be something where you didn't do something that you wanted to do, and there is a lot of grief. So how do you maintain hope? What ideas do you have for our audience? And again, this is live, and I'm going to give the number 800-930-2819 if you have questions for Bridget or me. What techniques did you have, and what helped you?
For me, what works the best is to be still outside. People meditate, but I find nature is calming to me, and it gives me hope. I like seeing the sky, the trees. I also did a lot of yoga. I really got into yoga. That is very calming. That's why you gotta, again, it helps your body to slow down. And I would go take slow walks, right? Even though I say I'm a runner, I know I do this, and I would take walks outside with like my dog or dogs, excuse me. I find them that for me, it works. Dogs remind you to be in the moment. Some people don't like dogs, but that's okay. But I don't want to look, I don't think looking at a screen, it doesn't help me calm down. Meditate to me is just to be in the moment, deep breathing, right? And then to do some yoga. I learned all that through that holistic epidemiologist that I worked with. He was really fantastic. Even though I've always been a nature person. So something about nature, that's why I have this background, because I love something about plants and being in nature. We are in as one, right? And then you can just see unexpected, beautiful things like the rainbow, right? In the morning after it rains. Just appreciate little things and be grateful for what you have. Some people like to journal. And I was journaling, by the way, Gale, during all this stuff, writing my thoughts down. So one day I'll share that with my kids. But it just helped calm my mind down. And there were some freak out moments, trust me. But that's why I got into doing the meditation and yoga and going outside just to stare at the trees. That's what helps me.
And there's a lot of studies about how nature, and actually just looking at a picture of nature can calm the whole being down. And so that's the forest bathing thing. And I just was reading something about forest therapy. And trees. So I had a friend of mine who had a near-death experience. When she came back, she could see energy, and there was a big tree that she would go and visit, and she could see that if somebody needed some healing, the tree would actually send energy to the person. So all these, I believe everything has a consciousness, and trees have a consciousness.
Yeah,
and
maybe that's what it is for me. I have to look at trees, and I get sad when I see trees being cut down. It makes me sad.
Yeah. There's and understanding that there's a relationship that we have with nature. So one of the things that you're talking about is nature, being in nature, really. And the other thing you're talking about is doing things that are calming. And asking yourself, what calms me? What brings calmness to my spirit? What brings hope to my spirit? What brings ease and stillness to my spirit, right?
Yes.
I'm not really a yoga person, but I'm a swimmer. And swimming is kind of a moving meditation for me. So just listening to that place of stillness that brings us hope and brings us back into ourselves. So how did the journaling help? So some people really find journaling helpful and some not so much, but how was it helpful for you?
It would just, I would appreciate what I had and not complain about what I was going through, right? That's really what it was. It was just a reminder to appreciate, be grateful. That's really what it is. And I still had the ability to walk based on this brain tumor that I had. And their doctors are amazed that I'm able to run again. Because me and my brain and my body, we work together. And I don't go out there running marathons, but it's just something that I like. You like to swim, I like to go for a jog. And that's really what it is. Journaling, I would write thoughts down, and what I saw that particular day is a memory. And that's really what it was. And for the future, something for my boys to read later. They don't know that I have this.
So did you do a gratitude journal, or just writing down your thoughts as a way to get them out?
Just writing down my thoughts. That's really what I did. I've always, since I was young, I did that, sporadically. But when I was going through these health issues, I became more consistent with it. And I don't keep track of like how many miles I run, but I'm sorry, the door's squeaking. So it's open and closing. That's really what it was. It was just writing the thoughts down for the day. And like, I didn't write anything negative, but what good happened today? That's kind of what I would write down. It could be multiple things. It could be one thing.
Yeah. So it's really focusing on the good, right?
Yes. I focus. People have made fun of me when I was younger, as I focus on the positive aspect. That's just, I think, my personality. I acknowledge when something bad has happened, but I don't focus on that.
Right.
I think it moves you forward if you're focusing on the good in the situation.
Well, there's a guy that wrote a book called The Luck Factor, and one of the things he says is that people that are lucky tend to say, "Well, it could have been worse."
It's true.
Yeah, and that energy that is about focusing on the positive of something actually moves us forward, because there is a way that we can, when we focus on what I don't want to say, the negative, the non-beneficial, it just pulls us down and it pulls our energy down. But there's a way in which you have to be really consistent. I'm sure that was what was going on with you. Like,
yes.
Oh my God, what's happening today that's really good?
Right. That's what, and I would do it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Just because, like, you really had a pretty freaking good day. That's kind of how, you look at that. This good thing happened. That's what I would focus on. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah. So my husband and I do that at the end of the day. We ask each other, what brought you joy? We talk about the lights, what brought you joy, and what are you grateful for? That's our ending day, and it's really lovely. Sometimes I say, well, what miracle did you have today? And it's just sometimes some little miracle.
Exactly. You just appreciate that, and life is beautiful. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to go a little bit more into how you were able to maintain. So we've been talking about that, and I'm sure facing death, possible death, brought you a sense of life.
Yes.
And how people can connect to you. So this is Gale West, and you are on the Café of Delights, and we're going to take a little break. And when we come back, I have Bridget Cutel as my guest. Café of Delight, conversations that enlighten and inspire with me, your host, Gale West. Tune into transformationtalkradio.com every second and fourth Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific. We are at the precipice of one of the most exciting evolutions in human history. On Café of Delights, you will hear from those that are actively working at the edges of local, regional, and global transformation. For more information on hope for a new reality, visit Gale West at successwithsoul.com.
Imagine if you were truly flourishing, how would your financial expansion impact the world? Author of Money Come Dance With Me, Gale West is an internationally known speaker, creative catalyst, and business intuitive at Success with Soul. Work with Gale to create a new relationship with money as your friend. Link the soul of your business to the business of your soul with programs like Sacred Money Mastery, Akashic Records of the Soul, and more. To receive a healing money meditation, go to successwithsoul.com today. And you are back, or we are back, Gale West, and you are on the Café of Delights, and I have Brigitte Cutshall with me, and this is live. I'm coming live from Los Gatos, California, and Bridget is coming live from somewhere in Atlanta.
Yep, suburb.
Yeah. So, and if you want to call in, it's 800-930-2819, and Bridget, you have a couple books. We were talking about your books. And so what's the first book I think is really, what,
The first book is called Real Things, 6 Ways to Embrace Life. And I learned after about 5 or 6 years after blogging, there was a theme to it. And it was my older son that convinced me to start blogging. Share your story. I'm one of those people that wasn't sharing my story. And I talked about the brain tumor. And the blog post was, the brain tumor doesn't define me, right? I wasn't going to let it define me, who I was. And then the cancer came back, and it was very positive. People like it because I do focus on the positive side of it. And I wrote a children's book about running because it's fun to run, and it's about a girl trying to get, younger girls to run because I like to do that. I did a book about my stepfather after he died unexpectedly. That's been actually the most popular one because he's military, and it's written from a woman's perspective. I always think of his stepdaughter, right? And the most recent book is called Move for You, Empowering a Healthy, Happy Life Through Exercise. And I've seen more people. I don't understand why I move a lot, but I find it healing for me. I mean, just in general.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody doesn't have to be a runner, but you should find something, is what I recommend, that you enjoy doing. And it could be simple as walking. It could be gardening. I just want people to not be so sedentary. And that's what I try to inspire and motivate people to do.
Well, bodies like to move. They're made for moving, and they're not made for sitting. I mean,
that's what's going on. Yeah, I've seen so many people just sitting.
Yeah, it's not good.
No, it's not. It'll catch up to you.
Yeah. So I think for me, one of the reasons that I did so well after my stroke was that I needed to move. I need to move. And I ran actually we were talking about that. I ran for 28 years until I moved to China. And then everything's concrete there. And I thought, I'm going to not have knees, but then I started walking and swimming. And so really, our bodies are made to move. And the more that we move and the more that we allow them to have that movement, the healthier we'll be. And it actually, there's so many studies about how it makes a difference in our brain and our mood. And it helps with serotonin and dopamine and all these other things that are mood enhancers. Yeah, moving is good.
It helped me heal, the healing process. And I did have to have physical therapy after the last cancer stuff. But I'm like, I don't want to cuss, but I am going to run again. And the doctor made the doctors and the nurses happy. And so they made sure because I needed that. My brain and body were telling me, get up, you should let her run again. Right.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, how did you start running again? What happened? So what happened that you couldn't run, and what happened that you started?
The worst part was after the first cancer, I had, when I was 41, I've always been a runner since I was like 13, 14 years old. I thought I was just going to sign up for 5K, no big deal. But I had radiation to my chest that's one thing I regret doing. Well, I didn't realize how, tired that was going to make me. What a dummy. I tried to go running without practicing in a race. And the race is at the bottom of a hill, right? The beginning of a race at the bottom of a hill. That's crazy. But then I'm like, okay, then I got back into it again. And then when the brain tumor happened, I couldn't run for a while because that made me dizzy. I didn't want to fall. And I had to slowly just be able to walk again, Gale, after that issue, to walk. I just had to focus on walking, and I didn't stress over not being able to run. Then I developed more into hiking and things like that. I can't ride a bike, really. I have a hard time, to be honest with you, because my body overcompensates, my brain does, because the brain tumor's still there, even though it's dead, it still affects, I don't want to fall and hurt myself. And that's what will happen. And then after the last cancer, after the chemo, I had to have chemotherapy and a physical therapist. And they chose a physical therapist who was a runner. She understood how to help me get back into it. I had to take it slow, but I slowly started walking and then added the running again. And then just slowly added hiking in again. And I've done some swimming, but for some reason, I don't get the boost like I do with running.
Yeah, I understand the boost, the running.
Right.
I'm hearing the word addiction. So
I'm addicted to running. Yes. And I mean, I joke that I get that runner's high, but but it's not immediately. It's like after the first mile, then like, okay.
Oh, yeah. I totally understand. I'm with you. So, how do people connect to you? And your books are on Amazon, right?
They're on Amazon. You can just type in my name, Brigitte Cutshall, Cutshall, or you can go to my website and there's a page there for my books. And I also have a YouTube channel called Real Things Living, because it's connected to my podcast. And I started the podcast, it's connected to my first book. So called Real Things Living. And a lot of people who have been on there are authors as well. And they share their story. But people like the positive aspect that I bring. And it's about really resilience, how life can knock you down, but you learn to get back up from it, and tenacity. And I joke in my first book that I'm still here because I'm stubborn. I mean, I didn't give up, right? And it really was hope, Gale, that I saw my boys and I'm like, I'm going to watch them graduate high school. And I did. I'm still here. And now they're done with college, right? So that was my beacon, right? My family. And thank God my husband was so supportive of me.
So I think one of the things you're saying is that I've had times where I was in absolute despair.
Right. And, oh yeah. There was.
I totally understand. But there's got to be one thing or something that is that beacon, that light that says there is hope, and hope. When you don't have hope, you're dead. You're done. You're done.
Yes, I was not ready to give up.
Yeah. So there's got to be a way that people find something that is that light of hope, that light that you can turn on that light. So I think it's always there, but you may not, maybe it's not plugged in, and maybe it's not turned on.
Plug it in.
Yeah, you got to plug it in. So I think what you're saying for you, it was your kids, your children. And then, so if somebody is struggling with that, so how do you, when you were in those moments of absolute, oh my God, despair, what helped you move back into turning that light back on?
I think one of it was talking to the nurses, one of the nurses, because, or just you need to find someone who can support you. That I think people who are dealing with this, any kind of issue, you do need some kind of supportive issue. You need to be honest and let them know what's going on, or give them some positive, they can give you some positive feedback. Mm-hmm. Right. And the nurses were helpful to me. That physical therapist who's a runner, like, hell yeah. She understood. So that's really what it is. And it's helpful to talk to somebody who's actually been down that path. Not exactly the same path, but it'll help you get some inspiration and find hope. Mm-hmm. Or if you're religious, you can go to church, right? It just depends on who's listening. And for me, I'm just so grateful that I believed that someone's watching over me and I was going to still be here. I shouldn't say someone, it was me. But you still have to have help from outside. I think, and that's another thing, you cannot do it by yourself, and you have to be open to receiving some help.
Yeah. So I think that's a real key, that, we're not islands. No man is an island, and really reach out and be honest. So
Yes.
most of us hold this stuff inside. I know I've done that myself. I don't want to burden anybody. I don't want to let anybody know what's really going on.
Right.
And just to be honest, because we got to get it out. When you hold it in there, it gets stuck and it gets like a rock or whatever. But getting it out really helps, and having a support system. And
Yes.
not being around negative people who are going to be, say, blah, 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 and do their negative stuff, as opposed to really finding people that are positive, that are hopeful, that give you that sense of aliveness that we really need. You're right. We cannot do it by ourselves.
Right. And I know some people think they can, but it's not good mentally or spiritually to separate yourself from not tell everybody what's going on. And I can understand why people try to hide it. I mean, there are some really dark moments that I had, trust me. But I would, like I said, I would tell the nurses, and they were like, they made me feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
And my book, that Real Things book that I wrote, I made a bunch of copies after my cancer a year later, and I gave it to the chemo pod, and because I wanted everybody to feel happy. Mike, you need some joy, or not to say joy, but you do. You got to find, I mean, life isn't perfect, and you just got to find a way to, like you said, hope. And I find to get through the day something that makes me joy, gives me joy.
Yeah. So those moments of joy, for me, it's flowers. I have to have fresh flowers all the time.
Keep it simple, right?
Yeah. And you're right. We think it's some big thing out there, but it's those moments of joy. For me, it's beauty. And we're talking about beauty, things that when you see them, when you experience them, there's a way in which it lifts our soul, lifts our beingness, to feel comfort, to feel joy, to feel that we're not alone.
Right. It definitely, that's why I give a lot of, praise for the doctors and the nurses who are dealing with patients, and just people in any kind of support group. The churches, there's just so many different things. I shouldn't say church, but whatever your organization that you're involved in. And I'm just really lucky that you're right. I surrounded myself around positive people, and that helped me too.
Yeah.
And I try to be really brave and smile a lot around my boys. I wanted them to know.
Yeah. So again, how do people connect with you? We have a minute or so left.
Probably the best way is go to my website, BridgetCutshall.com, BridgetCutshall.com. And there's a page, a contact page. That's probably the best way. Or you can connect with me on my Real Things Living channel on YouTube. I have a LinkedIn and Instagram page as well. So it's the same thing, my name, Brigitta. Just try to keep it consistent.
Right. Yeah. And so when you go on it, you also have another business that is not about. So I was a little confused when I went on it. Yeah.
Yeah. I combined it, rather having two separate websites. It's under my name, BridgetCutshall.com, and part of it has my Gemini Media logo. And I started my business, by the way, going through cancer treatment. And that was it really helped give me some confidence. That gave me some hope too. Like I still had value to give to other people as well.
Yeah.
And that's really the bottom line there.
So this is Gale West. We are on the Café of Delights. I had Brigitte Cutshall as my guest. And I want to leave you with the idea that hope is always there, and turn on the light. Find ways, and when you can't do it on your own, find people that can do it. The Café of Delights is the second and fourth Thursday of the month on Transform Talk Radio, and 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Now, next time I'm going to have Mandar. And I forgot his last name. He started a business and a movement to bringing peace. How do we bring peace in moments of trial? So just an amazing man. So anyway, happy to have you come back next time. And you can always find me on YouTube and any podcast channel. Thank you for tuning in to Café of Delights, conversations that enlighten and inspire with me, your host, Gale West. Listen or watch live every second and fourth Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific on transformationtalkradio.com for a series of riveting interviews from those who are actively working at the edges of local, regional, and global transformation. From science to spirituality, culture, arts, and new economies, and more, we will explore how to create a world where all can thrive. For more information on hope for a new reality, visit me, Gale West, at successwithsoul.com.